Hello and welcome back. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Grote, staff systems engineer here at VMware. And in accordance with all of the good enablement content and things that we've got happening, we're coming back with another cool Airwatch roundtable with our very own Mr. Dan Gunyon. And in addition to having Dan with us today, we also have, another Dan. We're doubling up on our Dans. And so we've got doubling up or doubling down, Vegas this year for VMworld. So we should be doubling down, not doubling up, right, guys?
Right,
That's, yeah,
exactly.
okay. So we're doubling down on our Dans. It's double down, Dan double. And we've got Mr. Dan Ryan here with us as well. Systems engineer out of Chicago, right?
That is correct.
All right,
Covering
fantastic.
covering the largest partners that VMware has.
All right, outstanding. Well, so everybody knows who I am and why I'm here. Mr. Ryan, would you kind of give everybody an introduction and tell them, tell the viewing audience and your soon to be adoring fans, why you're excited about today and what your background is and why you love VMware.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Kevin. Dan Ryan, systems engineer, like Kevin said, based out of Chicago. Been with VMware for over 7 years, and a lot has changed since that 7-year tenure. Back in the day, it was just virtualization, and now we have this crazy portfolio of end-user computing, mobility, etc. You name it. Basically, VMware is definitely offering it. So today's session is going to be a good one, I feel. With Airwatch and the integration into end-user computing, I feel that it's definitely going to be a great topic for us, and it's definitely not necessarily new territory, but territory that VMware is definitely familiar with within end-user computing.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, and and thank you for that. And so, Mr. Gunyon, for those who haven't been introduced to you properly yet, can you give them a quick rundown and maybe tell them about why you're so darn cool and why I keep bugging you about stuff.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with hanging out with you, Kevin. So that has
This
made
is
me a whole lot cooler.
that is inarguable. That's inarguable, and I think everybody's cool on that point. So just throw them the rest.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, so excited to be back with you, Kevin. And I've been with Airwatch now for 4 years. I celebrate my 4-year anniversary in the month of July. So I've been primarily on the post-sales side, helping customers roll out their mobility solutions and support those solutions. I've worked as an on-prem team lead in the deployments department, so very familiar with the infrastructure that it takes to get this up and running, as well as now I'm on, and I built out the partner support team here at Airwatch, and then now I'm with the sales engineer team with Airwatch. So I look forward today to learning from you guys into how we put the Airwatch mobility together with all of the great EUC products at VMware for the partners and ultimately the customers.
Oh, cool. Well, that's actually very fortuitous, and I think that's more or less why we're here. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm playing with the iPad or the keyboard or doing something. Live TV, right? So any absolutely anything can happen. So one of the things, Dan, you and I, God, okay. Who wants to be Dan one? I'll just go Dan G. So Dan G, you and I have actually had a lot of conversations regarding Airwatch and a lot of things. And I'm a big fan of kind of the architectural discussions. I believe that there's a lot for us to learn when we start to understand the pieces. And we also know that Kevin's a very, very visual guy. Hence why we're doing this on video. But one of the things I'd like to start doing, or like to start by doing, is to talk about Workspace One. And so I think that's very important into this conversation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here really fast. And let's go ahead and get that guy shared out. and you guys can see my screen now. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, cool. Because I can see it, that means you can see it. So, one of the things when people talk about or they're looking at this this concept, you know, Dan R, I think you probably as much as anybody, are also kind of getting a lot of this is, what is Workspace One? Is Workspace One a product? Is it a technology? What is it? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer it the way I answer it, and I'd like to hear how you answer it. Is that okay, Dan R?
Sure thing.
Okay, cool. So the way I answer it is I say, well, it's really kind of a grouping. It's a collection of products, and very specifically, there's kind of a couple products that it entails, as a majority. Probably the key product that it includes is Horizon, right? And that's giving us our desktop deployment, right? Being able to deploy virtual desktops inside of that space and be able to make those virtual desktops accessible, for people. Where we have the actual international symbol for VM, right? So we've got our VMs. We're able to deploy those out to folks. Then another huge component of it is aligning app volumes, right? So we've got the app volumes alignment. So now we've got the desktop itself, and we also have kind of the application stack that we're able to group, and we're able to build out volumes of applications inside of that space. But then what's really important and exciting when we talk about Workspace One is the inclusion and the overlap of certain aspects of Airwatch. And so it's inside of this space that we're able to create kind of that for those of us that love like Venn diagrams, you've got that sweet spot where there's like just enough mobility management and application management and desktop management that it's a comprehensive, if not totally complete solution, right? It's not everything and the kitchen sink. But it's a comprehensive solution based upon what it's supposed to do. So that's kind of the way I do it when I think about it. Dan, Dan R, how would you elaborate? How do you talk about it?
Well, that's basically, what you have diagrammed is essentially it. When it comes to questions that I receive, it's basically where you have the yellow box with that integration.
Yeah.
Often the question that comes up is, which one do I pitch? Do I pitch Horizon? Do I pitch Airwatch? And so Workspace One actually allows us to actually take a look at the end user versus just the endpoint device. So when trying to align yourself with the sales opportunity, is it the end user that they're trying to take care of, or is it an endpoint device? But the thing with Airwatch and that integration into Horizon itself, it literally helps us develop or actually extend that application security, as well as delivering that application in a much faster, smarter way. Today.
So in some way, what you're saying is, kind of the conversation that you're having is that the red little delta that I've outlined there that kind of says, is it Horizon, is it Airwatch, kind of,
Yep.
Am I user, am I mobility? That Workspace One inside of that little yellow quadrant answers the red quadrant and says, the answer to your question is, well, yes. Workspace
Right.
One is the thing that kind of stitches it together, right? It's really cool to have peanut butter, and it's really cool to have a jar of jelly. But if you've got some white bread, you're in business.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Peanut butter and chocolate, as they say.
Peanut butter and peanut butter. Oh, okay. So I see how you roll. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
I like.
You like chocolate? I am a big fan,
Exactly.
man. I tell you what. Last time I was in Chicago, I had to stop. I was with our buddy Sam, and I had to stop at the Vosky's kiosk
Yep.
in O'Hare. he had never had bacon flavored chocolate.
Oh, that's good stuff.
How do you not have that? He was like, well, I don't get it. I don't get the point. I was like, dude, I said, it's like, I said, you got peanut butter, you got jelly, right? I was like, yeah, I mean, you get the salty stuff and you got the sweet stuff. It's the same thing. I said, how are you not down with this? It's like the best stuff ever. It's like Pockets. How do you not believe in Pockets?
Right. I don't know.
So, hopefully that gives us kind of a quick introduction into kind of the idea of leveraging Workspace One. What I'd like to do, Mr. Gunyon, if you would, I'd like for you to walk us through and give us some guidance so question number one, that little yellow section that we talked about, right? The Airwatch aspects of Workspace One. Can you tell us kind of what's involved in that? What do people get? Kind of like from a functional perspective, right? We'll talk about the bits in a minute, but like functionally, what does it do to their enterprise when they're layering that in?
Yeah, great. So I think Dan R. said it well when he was saying, "Are you focused on the endpoint or are you focused on the user?" So the Workspace One is going to give the end user a portal across all of their devices. So whether they're using traditional devices that have applications served up through the Horizon infrastructure, or they have it would actually be an also, it's not an or, right? Yeah. So they would have a device that was in that infrastructure, as well as they want access to their data with their iPad when they're traveling around as well, right? Or their iPhone, Android devices. So it allows you to manage a very robust set of devices in one single pane of glass, if you will. But the end user experience starts with that Workspace One portal where they can get to their apps regardless of the platform they're coming from.
Yeah, and I think Dan R., do you have our Identity Manager portal available on your screen? Could you share it with us?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So, I think that it's important, to Dan G's point, when he's talking about the portal, he's talking about IBM, right? Which is VMware Identity Manager. Those of us older guys remember it as Horizon Workspace. That's what it used to be, and it used to be, a deployable. It was like 4 machines, if I'm not mistaken. It was 4 appliances that deployed. Kind of crazy back in its day, but now we're deploying via just the one appliance, and I see you've got it up there on your screen. I'm sharing that with everybody now, and so you can see here on Dan R's screen, this is actually our internal VMware Identity Manager. So VMware and Airwatch are definitely big fans of drinking our own champagne, and I see down there, Dan, that you're actually a fan of a lot of the same applications that I am, so that's cool. And so, well, but it makes you cooler. To Dan G's point, it makes you cooler that you're a fan of the same things that I like. See? But yeah, this is actually our internal consumption, and in this, you've got all kinds of stuff, right? You got like Office 365, and you've got core applications, thin app applications, really cool things you can put in the like Zen app applications, and the ability to forward federate into like SAML-based applications. And for people who aren't familiar, SAML is keep me honest, guys, if I'm not mistaken. The acronym is Secure Authentication Markup Language. Is that correct?
I believe you got it.
Okay.
My knowledge.
Because I know it's basically taking your auth-z, your authorization, and your auth-n and your authentication, and it's creating a wrapper token for it so that it's able to federate bidirectionally. But yeah, you can fold that in here too. So that's really cool. So when Dan G's talking about a portal, this is the portal he's talking about. So with that, Dan G, I just kind of wanted to side note. I'm sorry for doing that, but I wanted them to actually see what the portal looked like.
Absolutely.
So when they're getting that yellow zone, right, that Goldilocks zone of the Airwatch integration into Workspace One, like you said, they're getting the ability to manage their desktops, or excuse me, manage their devices, and manage the device's access to the portal. We hear a lot. And again, this is not kind of an advertising session. And Dan, your screen's still up. If you want to stop sharing it, it's cool. Either way. But and by the way, it's a great way to just like have a cup of coffee. It's just like share your screen. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to share that. Yeah, but I was really just absent. I was going to make more coffee. But you know. I try not to keep this as a marketing session. This is very open kimono kind of real truth kind of stuff. We hear a lot about how simple it is. You get your iPad. It comes out of the box, and next thing you know, you click the Airwatch button, and it's off and running, and you've got all of this access to all of these apps. Tell me, Dan G, or tell us, number one, does it actually work like that in your field experience? If it does, why does it? If it doesn't, what are things that impede it from doing so? And kind of what's your general opinion of that interaction and where it is today and where it's going?
Sure. Yeah. So I think a picture's worth a lot of words, and a demo's worth even more, right? So. Okay. So let me just share my screen, and if I've got this set up right, we'll be able to see my iPad here. And then I've got, there we go. So now you should be able to see my iPad. Is that correct?
Yes, just a big blue ball. Gotcha.
Perfect. So I have this device enrolled with an environment where the workspace is sitting here. As you can see, this is what the portal that I was talking about looks like from a mobile device. This has the Airwatch tied into the VMware Identity Manager, right? Okay. So those two are tied together for this environment. I've enrolled the device into management with Airwatch, and so the end user would actually just come in here, and they used to have what was called an app catalog, right? Mm-hmm. That's what the users of Airwatch would be familiar with. So the Workspace One is going to combine and give them a unified app catalog experience. So they're going to see on the first tab here when they launch this is that the launcher is the web apps that they have access to. So this would look similar to them to what Dan R just showed, and this would be the web applications that they have access to from their laptop, desktop, or laptop served up through Horizon, right? The catalog is where you tie in the mobile device native applications. So they're going to see the applications. So I can see, if I search for Salesforce here, I'm going to be able to if I can click on it, it's not there we go. All right. So I'm able to search for Salesforce here. All right. And I can see the apps that would meet that. And then you can see I've already installed, that's showing as processing. That's because I've already installed it. But I've got the web app version there as well as the native mobile app. Yeah. So what this gives you on the mobile experience is I'm able to take this native application, Salesforce in this case, and I'm able to open this application up, and it's authenticated because I'm authenticated with that Workspace One. Now, the nice thing to point out here is that not only are you able to control credentials, right? So your SAML authentication that you mentioned is being handled by the VMware Identity Management. But I am also able to control the device, what we call the device posture. So I'm able to say, if you're coming from a device that's managed in Airwatch, you can access with your credentials. If you went to a computer in a cafe or a library and you tried to access, or an iPad that's unmanaged and you downloaded this app and had the connectivity information and tried to connect to it, you wouldn't be able to access that application. It's going to give you an access denied message. So I can also, on the same, from an iPad, if you wanted to do the web application experience as well, you can actually click on and open the web app as well. So I'm able to access that from multiple fronts, and both of them would be authenticated. And as you can see, it's going to sign in and then authenticate me through using the VMware Identity Manager.
And so one of the things that you mentioned that I'd like to kind of click into, or a question that I had so I know that inside of Identity Manager, integrating things like applications, right? It's relatively straightforward, like RDSH, pretty simple. You just point it at an RDSH farm, load up the applications, and you're off to the races. When it comes to like URL-based applications, you just click the button, add URL application. Same thing with SAML. When you talk about kind of the interlock of Airwatch and IDM, what does that interlock look like? Kind of from a sort of an administrative perspective. What's somebody looking for to make that happen?
So in terms of the integration points, of setting that up between the Identity Manager and Airwatch.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what we're looking at? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me share, and I'll flip back and forth between the VIDM portal and the Airwatch. How's that sound?
Oh, that sounds actually really cool.
Okay. Yeah, I can't go into all the details here.
No, I know. Yeah.
But we can definitely talk to it, and I can just show you some of the the integration points and talk to it here.
Because I think there's a little bit of that. It's like, I mean, Dan R. I don't know if you'd agree, but I think there's a little bit of that with people, and inherently it seems like engineers have this thing where we don't necessarily trust what we can't disassemble. Right? And so when somebody goes to me and I go, hey, how does this work? And they go, it just works. Then it's like, okay, I'll buy the thing that it costs less, costs more, costs different, because I know, because that thing will let me tell it how it works, right? Or sort of a thing. And I think that there's a little bit of that. And so, any demystification is very cool.
Okay. All right, great. So yeah, again, this is the Workspace One. This would be the end user perspective. So if you're an administrator, you can come down and you'll have an admin console option there. So you can go into the administrator console here, and then some of the integration points would be clicking on the identity and access management, and then that cool technology where I just talked about being able to restrict the device posture. Control that device, you would come under the setup option, and then you're going to have an Airwatch option, right? And so this is going to be your Airwatch API URL for the environment, and then you're going to get a certificate from the Airwatch, and then here's the API key. So this is where your integration is coming from Airwatch, right?
Okay.
So in Airwatch, you're going to look under. I don't know if I can do it in the.
Actually, I'm still seeing a Concur screen.
You're seeing Concur?
Yeah.
Let me. Did I share the wrong one?
It's entirely possible, but I don't.
Yeah, that's it, man. I don't think you were seeing any of that. Let me pull up.
That's okay. I figured that I wasn't looking hard enough at the screen. I thought this.
You're not the only one.
Thanks for calling me out here. All right.
Again, live TV.
Yeah, that's right. Let me see. Which one are you seeing now? The mobile device again?
I think that's your that's your mobile device. Yep.
Yep. All right. You try one more time here.
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
I think it's actually. There we go. I'm just going to do the desktop. How's that? Did that work?
It might be in just a second. It's still black right now. Whoa, that's like me in stereo.
Yeah, so that was a little weird.
Yeah, that was weird. That's like Inception.
Yeah.
With Kevin, it's like Kevception.
Now you're seeing my Workspace One portal, correct?
I am, yeah. I'm seeing your Workspace One portal.
All right. So this is the Workspace One portal that Dan R. showed, right?
Yeah.
So this is for my demo, or my lab environment. And then if you are an administrator, you can simply click on your name. You're going to get the administrative console. So then I can come over here into my console. I'm going to see the Identity Manager console. You've got the dashboard, users and groups, catalog, and identity and access management. So what I was talking through is I went and clicked on Identity and Access Management, went over to Setup, and then you've got this cool Airwatch tab here. So this is where you would do the integration from Airwatch, right?
Gotcha. There's
So
the API key.
Yeah,
And
there's the API URL. You can put it. You'll put the certificate and then the API key, right? So where do we get all that? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So I was just going to say, so for the benefit of people who have dealt with things like vCloud Air before or cloud services, the API key is usually it's the connection bridge, and so that API key. Tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Dan. That API key in this framework is going to be the thing that we point back into Identity Manager so that it creates the connection back into the Airwatch portal.
Correct.
Oh, wow. I'm good.
Yeah. Yep. So if we come over here to the Airwatch portal, you'll go to, on the left-hand side, you've got your main menu bar. So you go to Groups and Settings. All settings will bring up your control panel in Airwatch. And then you can come down to System Enterprise Integration, and you'll have one called VMware Identity Manager. So I don't have enough permissions in my lab here to mess with it. They don't trust me enough. It's already configured and set up in this one. So I can try to log into another one to show that.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, I think
you get the point. You get the point, and but the API settings are set up. I can show that portion of it. So the API is the REST API, and so in Airwatch, what you're going to do is set up an enrollment user and a Workspace One admin. And so there's a couple of places to plug those in to make this work, and that's what you're doing and then you create a user in Airwatch and give the API permissions to those users, and then these are the keys that tie it in to know which one you're using, right? So VIDM knows how to communicate with Airwatch.
So yeah, and I think because I have an idea. I want to see if I can do this, but one of the things that that just keeps showing my screen. I don't want to do that. But one of the things inside of that, if I were to share my screen here for a second, you can leave yours up there, Dan. I just want to see if this is kind of an accurate representation for you. What we're saying is that we've got kind of a functional node here of IDM, right? Identity Manager. And then you're going to have another functional node over here of Airwatch, right? And that's what's that component called for Airwatch? Is it the Airwatch Manager? Is that right?
Airwatch Console.
Airwatch Console. Okay. Okay. So we've got the Airwatch Console over here. That connective bit is it's the API, right? That's sitting here, that API key, and it's no different than if we had vCloud Air or anything else that we wanted to connect to. Those things would have their own API keys that they would use for connectivity, and so that the connection is going like that, right? The connectivity is from the API that's aware inside of the Airwatch console into IDM. And so then when a user wants to authenticate inside of the space, kind of what you're saying is they're going and looking here. This is directing them into this API authentication that sends them back into there and determines what capacity they have here.
Yeah, so the Identity Manager and the Workspace One is actually controlling the apps that they have access to.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
So it's just that the API in that respect, in that regard, is that's the connective layer to determine like what aspects of Airwatch are being applied to this user. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so the IDM is just used for authentication of the apps, right?
Yes.
So and also the app delivery is in, whether it's through Horizon integration or whether it's just the standalone.
Yeah.
That's done on the IDM and the Workspace One side. The Airwatch is delivering the native mobile applications. So if you're doing public or internal, meaning you developed your own app, those are delivered through the Airwatch console. The authentication of even those apps is now, when you integrate with Workspace One, done through the Workspace One, which is the VIDM behind it.
Oh, okay. So I was a little bit wrong. So they're connecting into IDM like they are here with this first line, but then that second line is really kind of from IDM toward Airwatch through that API to present back to the user.
Correct. The user is actually, with an Airwatch, with Airwatch involved, the user is actually interacting with Airwatch as well.
Got it.
So they're going straight. They would be going to both, right? So for authentication, they're going over to the IDM, but they're for app delivery, content delivery, profiles that would change the management, security levels on a device. Those would be coming directly from Airwatch.
So both of these together, since both of those are impacting the user, this collaboration of both of them kind of determines what is impacting the user at any given time.
Fair enough. Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't want to over rotate it on it. It's kind of the importance in the space of what does that API sort of mean.
Well, Kevin.
Yeah.
That definitely brings up a good topic, because that's kind of what we hear from the partner community is, when you're presenting VIDM or Airwatch, what does that look like? Are you presenting through VIDM or are you presenting through Airwatch? And there's always that gray area of how does an application show up on a device? How does it show up on a desktop, etc. So it's definitely a question that I've been hearing a lot.
Well, Dan G, would you like to field that question so maybe we can answer it preemptively?
Yeah. So on a mobile device, I'll share my screen and we'll talk first from a mobile device, and then I'll let you guys kind of help me fill in the gaps on the desktop side, right? So from a perspective of where you're managing a device as a mobile device, and you're pushing out. See, from the mobile perspective, we're pushing the applications from the Airwatch environment. And are you able to see my Airwatch console now?
I can, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I can add and you can see I have a list of internal applications, right? And then public applications as well. So these would be ones in your App Store, Play Store, Windows Store. So those would be the apps available out there that the end users and you're just could access on their own on the store on their device. You're making it easy to push those out, as well as making those apps managed so that you can then pull those apps off the device if they lose the device, or if you need to enterprise wipe the device for a compliance reason, such as the device becomes jailbroken, rooted, that kind of thing.
So yeah, I think, Dan R, if to kind of underline your question, I think what people are asking is, when they're accessing their apps, like right there, if you stay on that screen, Dan G,
Yep.
they've people are accessing apps from IDM, and people are also accessing apps from Workspace, or excuse me, from Airwatch, right? So it's like,
right.
which one rules, right? If I log into IDM, do I see my Airwatch applications, or do I log into Workspace to see my IDM applications? Dan R, is that kind of help?
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Okay, great. So I think where it comes together is the concept of this unified app catalog, right? So even from my mobile device, I'm able to see this in Workspace One. If I launch that, which is an app on a mobile device, right? It's a web browser from a traditional desktop laptop on a mobile device. It's an app. You open that up and you have the launcher tab. That's going to be all of your apps that are web apps, right? And so the authentication, those are going to be an external, externally accessible web application endpoint for the users, right? And that authentication is being brokered through the VIDM, right? Okay. Whether you're using a mobile device, whether you're using a laptop, desktop, doesn't matter.
So I guess so when you clicked that Airwatch button in the upper left-hand corner, so click that and walk us through what happens when somebody clicks that button.
Yeah, so that's I'm going to get an error on that one.
That's okay.
That one's not tied in, but if I clicked on, say, a Blue Jeans, it's going to let me see. I don't know.
Potentially error out as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, and we know it's a demo environment, and that's totally fine.
Let's go to Salesforce. Let's that one. Something's broken right now.
Well, it's okay. But
essentially, that's going to the application, right? So you're going to in the VIDM. Let me go back to that. In the get rid of these errors.
Yeah.
But in the application itself, you're going to have the ability to go and configure these applications, right? So the Airwatch application has some configuration parameters, and that's where you're telling it where to go, right? So it's trying to go to, it's going to there for authentication, and then once you do the successful authentication, you're going to give it a redirection URL. So this is where it's actually going. It's going to my Airwatch server and then my device. So that's going to take me to my self-service portal. I know that because that's what my device is in Airwatch, that virtual directory. So you're going to first authenticate with VIDM, and then you're going to be taken, if on a successful assertion, SAML assertion, you're taken to the redirection URL. If not, you get access denied, like you're seeing on the other screen.
So I guess it would be fair to say, to answer Dan R's question that he's getting from customers, that you're going to see specific types of applications inside of IDM, right? You're going to see the SAML apps and the Office 365 apps and URL apps and things like that. However, if you have, and Danji, keep me honest because that's what this is about. If somebody has a secured app, or you have like Airwatch content management, or an application set that is secured and kind of enrolled and built into Airwatch, they would click that Airwatch button. That would take them to a space where they would see those Airwatch applications from a self-service perspective. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so the catalog, so I have the same thing right here. So you can see that's the same thing from my laptop, which is a Mac, as well as my iPad here. I'm able to see all of those web apps and launch it, that Salesforce application. I should get the same experience, right, from the, and in fact, actually, that's why I'm not getting the same experience, because I'm not an enrolled device on my Mac. So it's blocking me because it's saying, I don't know who you are.
So that actually wasn't a fail. That was operating as designed.
That was part of the demo. It just took me a minute to realize it. But you got to see what happens when you try to access it from a device that is not enrolled.
So you just clicked, because we really couldn't see the touch on your iPad, but you just tapped the Airwatch button.
I actually went to Salesforce.com, but correct. So essentially, let me go back. I'll walk you through. That's a good point. I need to talk to the things I'm clicking on a mobile device. Thank you. But I opened up the Workspace One application, and I see the same experience that I saw on an unmanaged Mac laptop. And now I see the Workspace One portal. If I click on the Airwatch icon, I'm going to go ahead and click that one this time. You can see it lit up.
Yeah.
And so this should take me across, and since I'm an enrolled device, this is going to do the authentication with VIDM, and then the redirection URL is that one didn't work. But let me try a different application here. The Salesforce does work, so let me do that one. But that's what's happening. So then once you are successfully authenticated, it sends you to the appropriate location, which is where your web application endpoint is at. Now, your application endpoint on a web application is going to be tied into SSO authentication. So it's not going to accept authentication unless it comes from an SSO. So that's where you're blocking and controlling that access.
And I think that big question is, what does and Dan R, tell me if I'm wrong, the big question the customers are having is when they click the Airwatch button on IDM, what's the next thing that they see? Dan R, is that?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So like what's the next? So they click the Airwatch button on IDM. What do they? I know we can't demonstrate it. We've got like some networking issue or something. That's fine.
So, yeah.
But what are they supposed to see next?
Yeah, you should see the self-service portal. All that Airwatch icon is a web application that is the Airwatch self-service portal.
Can you show us the self-service portal? Like go in the back door or however you want to do it. I know this is kind of a long way around a question, but this is oftentimes how, when we're talking to people, kind of how we have to work through the question with them. So I'm sure this is going to be of a lot of benefit to folks.
Okay, great. Yeah, no worries. So this is where the self-service portal is where users can go and manage their devices. So I have my iPad here, and I can go to advanced actions. And if I had permissions, I could enterprise wipe my device from here. So users don't have to call the help desk and put in a ticket when they left their iPad on a plane, right? They can issue the enterprise wipe themselves, or it was stolen.
So they are not seeing applications here. They are seeing their ability to manage their own device here.
Correct.
So that answers the question, and it does so very, very thoroughly. I mean, albeit it took us a few minutes to do it, but I think it answers. No, but it's good because there was a lot of other like good stuff that came in there. It answers the question that when the interlock between IDM and Airwatch means that your applications, even those that are secured by Airwatch, are being presented via IDM, and that the Airwatch portal, the self-service portal itself, becomes an application offered and kind of wrapped up in IDM that allows the user then to manage their own devices in accordance to whatever policy that IT has set.
Correct. And absolutely, and to keep just to point out the difference here, you could manage the Airwatch console by setting up a link in Workspace One for administrators. So you have access groups, right, in VIDM. So only the administrators would see it, but you could have everybody go to the Workspace One portal to start there, and then if they want to access the Airwatch console, you can set up a link and have that controlled through SAML. And then I'm showing the virtual directory here, so it would be Airwatch instead of my device.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same concept we just looked at with my device, where it's supposed to redirect you to the self-service portal, and that would be for all users. You could have one for Airwatch that is for the administrators.
So really what we've done is we've created kind of a closed cycle of sorts where Airwatch is managing the mobility aspect, right? The mobile application, the mobile device, mobile email, and mobile content, and it's providing that content right up into IDM as the presentation and kind of authorization engine, right? As like the aggregator of everything. And then but we also, in addition to that, we're giving people the ability to self-heal, self-serve the device themselves that they're using to access all the stuff that's being given to them by IDM. So we're really putting it in the hands of IT being able to build policies that Airwatch can then help enforce, and IDM can then be able to present.
Correct. Yep. As well as give them a consolidated, end users, a consolidated app catalog across all of their devices and be able to control the access to those applications from specific devices.
So Dan R, does that help us, and do you think that will help customers to kind of see it that way?
Yeah, for sure, and especially with Dan's last comment of having that seamless look across multiple devices. That's what the new Workspace One actually gives us through VIDM, is that unified look. Because prior to that, it was just a bunch of applications. It was Airwatch. It was different versions of Workspace, and now today, it's a unified view for the different end users that they have across any device that they have.
And I think that there's really two schools of thought here that could be applied. One would be to say, well, it's there's a lot of moving parts, and or there are multiple components. But I think that the other school of thought is to say that what we have are commoditized pieces, right? That can be snapped in like Lego bricks. And you can add specific functionality, because you could have IDM and not have Airwatch, right? Correct. You can have Airwatch and not have IDM. Right. But IDM, if you have Airwatch and you have no IDM, then the only way Airwatch is going to deliver applications is through its own mobile application management. It's going to try to deliver it directly to the endpoint, right? It's going to give an application to whatever it's managing. But if you have IDM, then you have the ability to deliver the applications through the API key and that integration directly into the IDM portal, and then people can access that from a whole another plethora of devices that they can then manage back in through Airwatch again.
Yeah, exactly. I think one important distinction to make there, and I'll share again, is that the apps are actually delivered still from Airwatch for native applications, right? The web applications are all set up on the VIDM, the VMware Identity Manager.
Give us an application. Give us an example of a native application.
Salesforce. So if I say, here's the web app version, right? That's where I open it up. It opens in a web browser.
Yeah.
If I say, and I have to go back to my mobile device, but on the Salesforce application itself, right? So this is the web version. Here's what I'm referring to as a native app.
Download okay.
From the App Store.
So yes. So that right there. So you clicked it a little too fast, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So So you just illustrated the point that I was just making, which is what you just did by clicking that Salesforce button right here is you circumvented IDM, right? And that's
it's tied in.
Well, the authentication is tied in, but the
actual authentication is tied in. That's correct.
Yeah, but the delivery didn't go through IDM.
That's correct.
Okay,
that's from Airwatch.
Yeah, yes. And the reason that button exists, that app icon exists, is because Airwatch is delivering that application directly to the mobile device, and you would see that as well as any other apps that you could download from the App Store that would be Airwatch supported. If you didn't have IDM, right? IDM would need to be there, and you would still be able to click that button just like that, but because we have IDM there, you can click that button and launch that native app that's controlled through Airwatch, because again, it's bound to the device. Or you can go in through IDM and you can click Salesforce and you'll get the web application that IDM gives you. So you've got it kind of multiple flavors depending upon what you need inside of the enterprise.
Right. And without IDM, if you had Airwatch without IDM, VMware Identity Manager, you're having to go to it as you open every application. You have to enter credentials in every single app. So if you have 20 apps that you're using on a mobile device, which is not unheard of, that's very common, you're having to enter credentials and keep track of credentials for 20 different apps.
Yeah, and so IDM, Identity Manager, allows us to create kind of that unified single sign-on, into that space. Airwatch is really about delivering the application itself. It's going to deliver the application in a secure way. It's not going to give you the ability to authenticate into the application in a kind of a cohesive way, which is why the IDM integration makes so much sense.
Yep, correct.
Cool. Dan R., any other questions on that before we tie off on that topic? I actually really enjoyed that conversation.
I think we nailed it on the head. Delivering native apps versus the web interface.
Yeah, I mean, I nailed it on the head. Beat a dead horse.
Yes, we did it all.
The deceased equine has been thoroughly thrashed. But it's good. I mean, sometimes you have to have that because it helps things make sense.
Thanks for taking time to join me today. As always, I hope you found value in these sessions. We've got a lot of great content this quarter. Be sure to subscribe for more updates and videos, and follow me on Twitter for news and updates as they happen. We also have a lot going on inside of services here at VMware. Be sure to look into some of our great new services that are available. Things like the NSX Design and Deploy service, now available from VMware. And if you're a VMware partner, you need to look into our Partner Preferred Services program, where you too can deliver VMware services and learn from our services consultants and professionals inside of our professional services division, so that you can deliver and bring true value and the ultimate in VMware expertise directly to your customers as well. For all this information and more, be sure to follow me on Twitter, and feel free to reach out, and we'll also be able to get you the information you need. Thanks again. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again really soon.